Hello, this is Caroline. Um, Thank you for joining me today for conversations with Archangel Michael. If someone joins in, then feel free to put a question for Michael in the chat area, and we can go into that. Um, one of the things I wanted to talk with him today about was how to tell the difference between what is real and what is not real. And so this is something that is particularly relevant for us going into a time of artificial intelligence. But it is also something that has always been relevant for us because what people say and what who they really are can very often be inconsistent. And so we need to never take things at face value. And we need to be able to look into the heart of the person or the heart of the situation and have a knowing about what is authentic and what is real. And it's like, I think that the same methods that we can use when we look into the hearts of people or situations, those are really skills, I betcha, that we can draw over into using with artificial intelligence so that we won't be as likely to be fooled. Um, so I'm just going to ask Michael, how do we what is the process for learning how to see into what is real or authentic instead of just taking things at face value? How can we learn how to see into the heart of people and situations and even ourselves, how to know ourselves in our own authenticity? So asking Michael. So he's just starting out by saying, I love you and I want you to know that all is well. So that's awesome. Thank you for that. So when he's saying you, he doesn't mean me personally. He means he loves us. And all is well for us. Yeah. So how do we learn to see into the heart of a person, a situation, so that we won't be taken in? How do we learn to perceive veracity? So Michael's saying, first you must stop being afraid. And that it's fear that drives you to reflexively, it's like choose sides. Like it reflexively forces you to choose friends and enemies. It's like fear forces you into a camp of a tribe. It forces you into a tribe. That's what fear does. So the real first question is, how do I come out of a place of fearfulness that is not allowing me to perceive truth, but is forcing me to act reflexively on the superficialities? So how do I come out of fear? And so he's saying, you guys are like so stubborn. It's like you're holding on to fear. It's not like it's a hard thing to come out of or to stop experiencing. It's almost like a reflexive choice that we've made, like as a species, to be riddled with fear. And that, again, is coming because of a perceived separation from each other and from the divine. And so Michael is saying, like, it's not a big deal. Like, you just have to perceive correctly, which is that you are all connected. You guys are one. Like, this species is one. Stop chopping it up. Stop pretending like you're different, because you're all one. And you're also not separate from the divine. You're all connected to each other and to the divine. And once you just like enter into that reality, then there's no place for fear. All one, no place for fear. And so, and so, and so what he's saying, what Michael's saying is just remind yourselves of this until you believe it. So when you feel fear, just go into kind of like a mantra where you're like, I am not separate from others. I am not separate from God. I am not separate from the divine. I am not separate from him or her or them, all one. We are all connected. Some kind of a mantra like that. All one, all one, all one. I am not connected. I am connected to everything that is and has been and will be. And when we enter into that truth, there's simply no space for fear. It's like the interstitial spaces have been closed up, all one, all one. And so that's how to come out of fear, so that we can perceive into the heart of another. So coming out of that fear is the first step. And then how do we perceive into the heart of another? So we perceive into the heart of another. We correctly perceive into the heart of another through the sixth chakra. The sixth chakra is what allows us to perceive into the heart of another. The sixth chakra is where all that is, it's the chakra of all that is. And within that group of all that is, each person is differentiated. And so in the sixth chakra, we are connected to all that is, and we are also a differentiated force or life force or being. And so, because all beings, all life forces are within that sixth chakra, then that's how we perceive into the heart of another to know what is truth and what is right, what is accurate, independent of what they say or do. So okay, so how do we do that? How do we come into that sixth chakra? So, so what Michael is saying is you have to practice. And so the way that you practice is, so like the sixth chakra is here, it goes all the way through, right? The sixth chakra is here. And so you come into that area, bring your attention into this area, and you're like sending the message to it to activate. And what you should feel is energy coming through it. So it should go forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, backward. So it's kind of like a rod. The chakras are like, kind of like a cone where it's bigger and then it gets smaller as it hooks into the body, smaller, and then it gets bigger as it goes back. That's too big. It's not really that big. It's supposed to be like about that big. And it's supposed to be like no more than like 12, about 12 inches away. I'd say like that's too far, like 8 to 12 inches out from the body. um and so there's this feeling going forward and backwards through the head. So you have anterior, you have posterior chakras. Anterior chakras, the anterior aspect of all the chakras, are the components that are characterized by passion, desire, exuberance, like this kind of zestiness. And then the posterior chakras are characterized by endurance, persistence, um, being not giving up. And so we need to have that anterior and posterior chakra working together to keep the chakra balanced um, and to really be able to optimize the function of that chakra. And so the energy kind of comes forward and back, but also it kind of whirls as it does that. It kind of opens and closes that way too, like that. So it's not just like a rod going through you, but there's also kind of opening and closing, kind of like that. So coming into that sixth chakra and sending the message, activate, back, forward, back. Feel the energy, forward, back, forward, back. So coming into that sixth chakra, feeling that sixth chakra activate, finding your place in that sixth chakra, finding the self, find the self within that sixth chakra. That's your resonance. You'll recognize it. Finding the self in the sixth chakra. And then after you find the self in the sixth chakra, stay with that and invite a knowing, an understanding, a calling in, a recognition of the individual or the situation that you want to see into the heart of. Find their energy stamp within the sixth chakra where all exists, but we are differentiated. And once you find their energy stamp, I might say of course, you're asking for guidance through all this. You're not doing it by yourself. You're connected to all that is. You're connected to the divine. Um, and so, of course, because of that connection, it's not like you're like a lone wolf trying to figure this out on your own. You're just simply like showing up, and this is very natural. This is very easy. You're designed for this. It's just unpracticed. And so that's the issue. It's just a matter of needing to practice it. But you already know this. So it's a matter of remembering. So finding your own energy stamp, recognizing the self. Now discovering the other person's energy stamp, recognizing their self, their self, and then asking to see into the heart. And so when I see into that heart of the individual, then they're like, I'm not who I say I am. I don't like myself. I'm not going to tell you who I really am because I don't know. And so I don't really need to like explore that more because that's enough information for me in the scenario that I'm in. And so that tells me I can't take this person at face value, that they're going to be saying things that are going to be inauthentic. And so I need to be caring for myself, independent of what they say with their mouth or any kind of action they may initially take. I will expect there to be inconsistency and that this is not going to be a good relationship for me to pursue. Um, and I can bless them and send them back to the whole for their healing. And then know that I am protected within the whole of the sixth chakra, all one, I do not experience any threat from that individual. They are on their own healing journey, and I am not a part of that. I'm not responsible for that. Um, and now I know. Now I know, so I can make an informed decision about the proper relationship with that person, the proper distance from that person, the proper interface with that person. And so that's how we see into the heart of another person so that we can know if that's an appropriate relationship for us to be in or not. Um, and so you can see it doesn't really take very much time. And the more we practice, the easier it is. And we won't have to go through a series of steps to be able to do that. We'll just automatically know. We'll automatically, instantaneously be able to see into the heart. And that's the same with anything, with a particular person, a situation, exposure to artificial intelligence. I'm going to ask Michael about artificial intelligence, and he says it also has its own energy stamp, and it's not an energy stamp of creation. It's an energy stamp of the created. And so it is a more artificial energy stamp. And so that's how you tell the difference. And so even though, the voice may be like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds exactly like my daughter. Wow." And that it's not enough to hear the voice and recognize the voice. You have to look into the energy pattern of that entity to be able to determine if it is an authentic energy stamp or not. And so part of this is about really knowing people that we love on a different level, so that we can instantaneously recognize if it's their energy stamp we're being presented with, or someone else's or something else's energy stamp that we're being exposed to. And this is the way to thrive in an environment that will be riddled with artificial intelligence, so that we can not be beguiled by things or taken advantage of. That it's like we need to evolve along with the artificial intelligence, but we actually have a jump start. Honestly, that's what Michael's saying, because this is something that we're hardwired for, is knowing truth. It's just that we haven't been practicing it, and we haven't been using these competencies he's saying that we already have. And so we just have to practice it, and it's going to be easy. We don't have to worry about being taken advantage of by this artificial intelligence. We just have to like up our game. You know what I mean? Like we have to like live fully. We have to come fully into our energy body, our energy system of how we're designed to be. And we're actually going to be like way happier if we can live in this more optimized state. It's going to be great for everyone, everything, um, because it's like a more comprehensive living, so that there's less guesswork, there's more knowing. Yeah. Anything else here? Yeah, that's pretty awesome. um okay, so awesome. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for joining me today. Have a blessed day.